So I want to share some wonderful news. Nima Lao Shi has finished reciting the 8,000 verses Janja Paramita, and it has been recorded. So it's a great a blessing for the local community where Nima Lao Shi is right now. In Singapore and the regions, Southeast Asia, Malaysia, and the entire Earth and the entire universe, and all the humans and animals and all the sentient beings in the universe. It's been a great blessing for all of us. And because Janja Paramita carries great powers, it is the Buddha's teachings on how the phenomena truly exist. Buddha gave the truth of the phenomena, and due to the power of the truth, it has the capability to eliminate all the negativities caused by our minds, including the negative karmas and the consequences of those negative karmas. So in other words, all the diseases that we experiencing, commonly, like right now, the outbreaks of COVID-19, down to the individual illnesses, physically and mentally, mental dementias, like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and all the physical illnesses are caused by our ignorance. So with the recitation of the Janja Paramita by Nima Lao Shi, it's a great help to reduce our delusions and the impacts of the delusions. So my sincere gratification to Nima Lao Shi. He's in such elderly age in a strange, different country, and out of his love and compassion for all of us, he spent. I think it took him 2 weeks to complete the entire recitations. So thank you, Nima Lao Shi. We appreciate you very much. 谢谢 Nima Lao Shi. 突击切 Nima Lao Shi. So with that said, 谢谢您Nima老师，谢谢你。Thank you very much for your love and hard work for all of us. And so with that said, there's an interesting fact in regarding Janja Paramita. In the monasteries, the monks and our masters are very busy, so they don't have time to recite the entire Janja Paramita from beginning to the end. But it is a common practice to recite Heart Sutra 3 times a day. And because the Heart Sutra is the essence of the Janja Paramita. When Buddha gave the teachings at his time, 2,500 years ago, he first turned the wheel of the Darma. He gave the teaching of the Four Noble Truths. And his disciples at the time are mostly Theravadas. They are dedicated to liberating themselves from the sufferings and of samsara. And so our beloved Buddha Guru gave the teachings of the Four Noble Truths. And then when he turned the second wheel of the Dharma, he gave the teaching of Prajna Paramita or Janja Paramita. And in that, his teachings targeted for the Mahayana practitioners, his disciples who were interested in liberating themselves and others, and lots of bodhisattvas and the sentient beings from different realms came to that teaching. So in that one setting, he gave 3 versions of the Prajna Paramita. the extensive, which is 100,000 verses, and then the middle length, which is the 20,000 verses, and the short one is the 8,000 verses. And 8,000 verses is the one that Nima Lao Shi recited for all of us. And so the Heart Sutra is the essence of the Prajnaparamita. It only has 32 sentences, so it's easier for us, who are very busy with our lives, and our minds are having a difficulty to stand still and focus on a subject longer than 2 minutes. And so the Heart Sutra is easier for us to recite because we can finish it in about 2 to 3 minutes. And so it's a great sutra to recite. It has tremendous positive energies and benefits, especially for the ones who have mental illnesses. I mean, we all have mental illnesses. None of us is normal, but of the ones that have difficulty to remember, I found the Janja Paramita, the Heart Sutra has tremendous powers to help in those aspects. So, if we have time, we have. It's a good practice to recite it once a day. And hi Helmets, we're talking about Janja Paramita, Perfection of Wisdom, the shortest version of the Heart Sutra, and it's good to recite it once a day. And while we're reciting it, we visualize that all the sentient beings are with us, and especially our loved ones, like our pets. We love our pets very much, so we forget to recite for our benefit ourselves, but we would recite for our pets and our children and our parents, and so this is to make a long story short, it's good to recite it once a day. So with that said, let's get ourselves into a position while others join us. So we can set our bodies into the meditation pose. The meditation pose also carries a wonderful energies. It actually helps us to purify the negative karmas that generated by our bodies. So whenever we can sit in this meditation pose. It will help our minds to calm and help us to think in a more loving and clearing fashion. So there's a greater chance to generate positive karmas and avoid negative ones. So let's sit with the 7 body positions. Now that we are very familiar with it, with legs crossed, 2 hands touch, right on top of left, 2 thumbs touch, form a triangle, place under the belly button, and spine straight, shoulders leveled, chest out, eyes looking down, focusing on tip of the nose, and the tip of the tongue is placed on the upper teeth, or just on the upper teeth, and our mouth are closed softly. And then our mind focusing on the breathings and breathing alone. And so 3 times we will breathe in slowly and breathe out slowly. Breathe in from right nostril and breathe out from left. And 3 times we will breathe in from left nostril and breathe out from right. And then 3 times we're going to breathe in with both nostrils and breathe out from both. And our mind will focus on the breathings alone and nothing else. And do not be scared with our thoughts. We don't have to chase them. They come and go just like the clouds in the sky. So we don't have to chase the clouds. By focusing on the breathings and breathing alone, the mind will slow down and land right on the breathings, like a bird landing on the perch. And then we are entering a neutral state. The body now is relaxed because the mind is relaxed. Our minds have a strong hold over the bodies. So if we want the bodies to relax, the mind needs to relax first. And once the mind relaxed, we're gonna switch into a positive space. All our actions, our speech, our thoughts are led by the mind. So it's important to make sure that our minds are happy. And in order for the mind to achieve, to reach the happiness, and there's three stages or three levels. First, we need to make sure our minds are happy this life and continue to be happy next life. In Buddhism, we talk about long terms, not just this life. This life is considered very short. And so even for our short-term goals, we're aimed for next lives. And in order to be happy this life and continue to be happy next life, we need to first find a qualified spiritual guide who knows how to reach this goal and deliver this goal for us. And once we found such a qualified guide, we're going to rely on his advice. And first is to recognize the value of our current human life. Our human life, to be more specific, the human bodies that we have, each one of us have, are extremely valuable. And the causes to make these human bodies are difficult to gather it into one body. And once we have it, this body is extremely valuable because it can deliver all our hopes and dreams for this life's happiness, for our long-term happiness, and the maximum happiness. And so it doesn't matter if we're rich or poor, we are beautiful or ugly, we live in a rich region or we live in poverty. As long as we have these bodies, we are the richest in this world. And we have things under the control. This will bring us great confidence. And there's nothing in this life can take us down, can make us depressed, can make us to go extreme to take our own lives. And so this, by meditating on the value of this body, we feel great joy and confidence toward ourselves and toward life in general. And then we'll meditate on the nature of this body. There's a particular nature we should not overlook, is that the body is impermanent. It has an expiry date. And because it's made from the materials that have expiration dates. And so if we want to pursue the happiness, we should start now. There's a sense of urgency. There's no time to be wasted. And once we have this urgency and we determined to start to build for our happiness as soon as possible. And the way to do it is to make sure that for our future next life, we're not going to the places that are full of sufferings. Because for this life, we're already humans, and there's as much as the sufferings a human can take, it is not 1/10 or 100% or 1/100th or even 1/1,000,000th of sufferings of next life if we are born into the wrong places. So we should meditate on the sufferings of the three lower rebirths: reborn as animals, reborn as hungry ghosts, and reborn in hell. Those places are full of sufferings. So compare the sufferings in those places, whatever we have to endure as right now, as a human, is insignificant. So we should work hard to make sure that in this life we're not creating causes to lead us to those bad rebirths. And we'll make sure that we can remove as many causes as possible that we already carry, which will lead us to those bad rebirths. And once we come to that realization, this will stir up some anxieties in us, because deep down inside we know in the past life, so we probably already created those causes, and in this life, even as far as we can recall, we probably have created many new causes to be reborn in those unfortunate states. So this anxiety will push us to look for a solution. And the solution is to take refuge in the three jewels. This is our next meditation focus. So by recognizing the qualities of the three jewels, the quality of the Buddha, and by practicing correctly, Buddhas have eliminated all those bad rebirths from their existence. And the dharmas are the Buddha's experience, how they practiced and make sure that they can avoid those places with 100% certainties. And the sanghas are the communities that keep us on the path, focusing on the practice, the right ways, and so we can avoid those bad rebirths. So we take refuge sincerely in the three jewels, and after we take the refuge, we'll follow the Buddha's Dharma, the Buddha's advice in our daily lives, which are the 10 positive actions we need to carry out: 3 body, 4 speech, 3 mentals. By following these 10 positive actions, we will have the guarantee to be happy in this life and continue of good rebirth and be happy next life. So this is the mental training that we must become very familiar in our mind stream if we want to be happy this life and continue to be happy next life. So let's reflect on those points for a moment. So now we have generated the confidence in this mental practice, and have some guarantees to be happy this life and the next life. We'll stretch our vision into future a little further, because there's countless future lives waiting ahead. Making sure 1 or 2 rebirths to be happy is actually not enough for us. We have to find a long-term solution so that we can be happy in every lifetime, and possibly to be happy permanently, and which is to reach the state of nirvana. So in order to achieve that goal, our mind should following the trainings of the Four Noble Truths in combination of 12 interdependent links. And first, we need to recognize the sufferings of the in the 3 upper realms, so-called rebirth as humans, rebirth as semi-gods, and rebirth as gods. So this places have much more happiness than the lives in the three lower realms, but in reality they are still full of sufferings. The so-called happinesses that we are enjoying in these moments as humans, in a instant can turn into sufferings, because this happiness are built on the impermanent causes, and so they change to sufferings when the condition changes. And the more details we can recall the sufferings as humans, as gods and semi-gods, the more a deeper understanding will come to that in nature, the samsara, the way we exist, are suffering, nothing else. So we'll have a strong desire to live the way we the way of our lives behind, because the way we live is lead to one suffering from one to another. And so this strong desire to leave the suffering of the samsaras behind, to leave the way of our way of existence behind, is called renunciation. And once we have the mind of renunciation, we will have such a strong determination to walk the path that eliminate the causes of the sufferings, that are the negative minds and the karmas created by our negative minds. Particularly, the root of all negativities is ignorance. We will work hard in our minds to remove the ignorance. And once we have eliminated all the negativities, specifically ignorance, we have reached the state called nirvana, in another word, beyond suffering. And this is individual liberation. We will no longer experience death, no longer experience sickness, growing old, and also the birth. And all our delusions, our negativities, and the troubles that associated with our delusions are become ceased forever, never rise again. So the mind will live in peace and in harmony and in happiness for forever. This is the quality of the nirvana. So let's meditate on that for a moment. And now that we have generated the mind of renunciation, have the determination to leave the samsara for good, and to remove our negative minds and ignorance forever. It's a great achievement, but it's not the maximum happiness we can experience for ourselves, and certainly it is not sufficient for other sentient beings who are still in sufferings. And in order to help all the sentient beings who are still in samsara to find the same happiness, we need to generate the mind of bodhicitta. It's the mind that is the highest form of the altruistic mind, and by generating the mind of bodhicitta, we will walk the path to achieve the Buddhahood as soon as possible. And by achieving the Buddhahood, not only we can help ourselves to experience the maximum happiness, but help others to achieve the same happiness. So there's three specific mental trainings to help us to generate the mind of bodhicitta. And today we shall use the first technique called the 3 methods of generating bodhicitta. Called the sevenfold cause and effect. So first we need to meditate on the fact that all sentient beings have been our mothers in the past lives. And because this we have never exited samsara, so we have in the past countless lives. And in every lifetime there was mother to give us life, to protect us, raised us, and provided for us. So all the sentient beings have been our mothers in our past lives, not only one time, but multiple times, countless times. And then we'll meditate on the remembrance of all mother beings' kindness. So in every life we have the mother who cared for us so much. They sacrificed their bodies for us. They changed their eating habits so we could found necessary nutrition and comfort, and then they gave us life, and then they provided for us, and so we can survive, and they protect us from all sort of dangers, and then they made sure that we have good lives. So these are a few kindnesses, a few ways we can recall the mother's kindness. And as the more details you can recall the mother's kindness, the greater wish we have to repay those kindness. And what are the best ways to repay the mother's kindness? We can provide them food, shelter, we can give them money, we can take care of them when they are sick, but all these are limited to these lives. Once this life ends, we cannot benefit them further. So the best way to help our mother beings in this life and all their future lives is for us to generate the great love, which is to wish all mother sentient beings to have true happiness and to help them and generate the causes of the true happiness. And then next we should meditate on the great compassion, which is to wish all the mother sentient beings are out of sufferings and to help them stay away from the causes of the sufferings. And then we shall meditate on the generating altruistic mind, which means this responsibility is ours. Even if we have to do it alone, we shall do it. No hesitations. These are our mothers, their happiness are our duties. And then if we look around, do we have the capabilities at this moment to help mother sentient beings to find the true happiness and be free from sufferings? And for this moment, we don't have that capabilities. And do these capabilities exist? It does. Buddhas have those capabilities. So for that purpose, we shall train to develop we shall train to reach the Buddhahood as soon as possible in order to help all the sentient beings. And this desire, it is very strong and deep in our mind. This is the authentic mind of bodhicitta. Now that we have generated the mind of bodhicitta, we shall continue to the prayer book on page 21 to recite the Heart Sutra together. Because in order to achieve the Buddhahood, we need to accumulate 2 type of merits. One is related to the intentions, which is the bodhicitta we have just generated through our mental training. The other one is the correct view or the wisdom. So in order to gain the wisdom, we shall plant the seeds by reciting the Heart Sutra. And let's put our hands together. The Heart Sutra. In Sanskrit, Bhagava Prajna Paramita Shidaya. In Tibetan, the Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard at one time. The Lord was dwelling at Rajagriha on Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a great host of monks and a great host of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Lord was composed in the concentration on the course of dharmas called profound illumination. At that time, also the noble Lord Avalokita, the Bodhisattva and the Mahasattva, in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, looked down. He beheld but 5 skandhas, and that in their own being they were empty. The form is then through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Sariputra said to the noble Lord Avalokita, the Bodhisattva and the Mahasattva, how should any child of good family train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? And the noble Lord Avalokita, the Bodhisattva and the Mahasattva, spoke to the Venerable Sariputra as follows. Sariputra, any son or daughter of good family who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it thus. He or she beholds but 5 skandhas, and that in their own being they are empty. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Emptiness does not differ from form, and form does not differ from emptiness. Likewise, feelings, recognitions, volitions, and consciousness are empty. So, Sariputra, all dharmas are emptiness, without differentiating marks. They are not produced or stopped, not defiled and not immaculate, not deficient and not complete. Therefore, Sariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognitions, no volitions, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visible form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tangible, no mental object, no I element, and so forth, up to no mind element and no mental consciousness element, no ignorance and no extinction of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, origin, succession, or path, no wisdom knowledge, no attainment and non-attainment. Therefore, Sariputra, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas abide relying on the perfection of wisdom, without obscurations of thought, and so are unfreed. Transcending perverted views, they attain the end, nirvana. All Buddhas existing in the 3 times, relying on the perfection of wisdom, fully awaken to the highest perfect enlightenment. Therefore, one should know that the mantra of the perfection of wisdom is the mantra of great knowledge, the highest mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra that allays all suffering, the truth, since it has nothing wrong. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Deyatha Om Gade Gade Paragade Parasamgade Bodhisoha. In this way, Sariputra, should a Bodhisattva and a Mahasattva train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Lord rose from that concentration and commanded the noble Lord Avalokita, the Bodhisattva and the Mahasattva, saying, well said, O son of a good family. O son of a good family, so it is, just as you have taught, should the profound perfection of wisdom be practiced, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. Thus spoke the Lord. Venerable Sariputra, the noble Lord Avalokita, the Bodhisattva and the Mahasattva, and the whole world, that assembly with devas, human beings, asuras, and gandharvas were delighted and applauded the Lord's speech. I prostrate to the gathering of Dakinis of the 3 places, coming from the supreme holy site of the Khatru Pure Land, who have powers of clairvoyance and magical emanation, and regard the practitioners as their children. Akasamaratha Shatara Samarayape. Akasamaratha Shatara Samarayape. Akasamaratha Shatara Samarayape. Deyatha Om Gade Gade Paragade Parasamgade Bodhisoha. Deyatha Om Gade Gade Paragade Parasamgade Bodhisoha. Deyata Om Gade Gade Bara Gade Bara Sam Gade Bodhisoha. Through the power of the great truth of the words of the exalted three Jews, may all adverse conditions be overcome. May they become non-existent. May they be pacified. May all evils such as enemies, obstacles, hindrances, and adverse conditions be pacified. May the 80,000 types of obstacles be pacified. May we be separated from adverse, harmful conditions. May everything conducive be obtained and be the auspiciousness of everything good. May there be excellent happiness here and now. Om Benza Bume A Hom. Here is the mighty and powerful golden base. Om Benza Reiki A Hom. Here's a diamond fence. The outer ring is encircled with this iron fence. In the center stands Mount Meru, the king of all mountains. In the east, the continent Puva Vidiha. In the south, Jambuvipa. In the west, Apara Godania. In the north, Uttara Kuru. Around the east, Diha and Vidiha. Around the south, Kamara and Apara Kamara. Around the west, South and Uttara Matrina. Around the north, Kurava and Karava. In the east, mountain of Jews. In the south, wish-granting trees. In the west, wish-granting cows. In the north, the uncultivated crops. The precious wheel, precious jewel, precious queen, precious minister, precious elephant, supreme precious horse, precious general, great treasure vase. Lady of beauty, lady of garlands, lady of dance, lady of song, lady of dance, lady of flowers, lady of incense, lady of light, lady of perfume. The sun, moon, umbrella, victory banner of victories in all directions. In the center are all the possessions that are precious to gods and men. This magnificent collection, lacking in nothing, I offer to you, my kind and holy root guru, together with venerable lineage gurus, and to you, inseparable from the victorious pervading Lord, the great Vajja holder of Vajja, complete master of doctrine, refuge and protector, Lord of the victorious ones, omniscient one, great gift, venerable Gueshe Tenzing Tamding, Lord of the three existence, unequaled, glorious, and noble one, in order to receive from your holy mouth the profound Darma discourse of the great vehicle we offer these universes. Please accept them for the sake of transmigrators with your great compassion. By accepting with your great love, please bestow your blessings on all the mother sentient beings. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon, I imagine as a Buddha land and offer to you. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure land. Venerable gurus, from love and wisdom, clouds densely amassed in your Dhammakaya sky, prelude a rain of vast, profound Dharma on the fields of disciples just as needed. Sa xi bei ji, shuo xing mei duo, zhang rui rab ling xi, nian di zhen ba di, sang jie xing du mi de bu wa yi, zhuo kun nan da xing la, zhuo bara shou, yidang guru rana manjai la kan miya dayame. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sanghas. By the merits created by listening to the Dharma, may I attain the state of Buddha in order to help all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sanghas. By the merits created by listening to the Dharma, may I attain the state of Buddha in order to help all sentient beings. Sang jie che dang cuo ji chou nam la xiang chu ba du da ni jiap su qi da ji che nian jie pei so nam ji zhou la pan qie sang jie zhu ba ra shu. To Lama Tsongkhapa, the crown jewel of Tibetan sages, whose incarnation of the three bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara, treasure of unapprehendable compassion, Manjushri, lord of the stainless wisdoms, and Vajapani, destroyer of Mara's armies, to Tsongkhapa, Losam Japai bow down. To Lama Tsongkhapa, crown jewel of Tibetan sages, whose incarnation of the three bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara, treasure of unapprehendable compassion, Manjushri, lord of the stainless wisdom, and Vajapani, destroyer of Mara's armies, to Tsongkhapa, Losam Japa, I bow down. Mi mei jie wei de qian jian rui xi, jie mei qian bei wang bo jiang bei yang. Du peng ma lu zhong ze sang wei da, gan jian ke bei zu jian zong ka pa, luo sang zha bei xia bla so wa de. So we take a moment to visualize that all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, along with the masters of lineage, especially our root gurus, are here in the space before us. They're here to guide us, protect us, and help us until we reach the Buddhahood. And then all the sentient beings are here in the forms of men and women. They're here to share the study with us so they can practice Dharma and find true happiness. So now we can put our mandalas away and to take a moment to reflect what we have shared with each other over the past few weeks together. In the last couple of weeks, we have gone back to the day 2 of the book Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. This book is one of the classical authentical Lamrim teachings. And Lamrim is a short term, it's a Tibetan word, a short term for Xiangqiu Lanji Xiangqiu Lanji Ram. So it means it's the gradual path or gradual training to achieve the Buddhahood. Xiangqiu is Bodhi mind. And in last session we have followed Pabanka Rinpoche's wisdom on why to study the Lamrim, to follow this particular mental trainings. And the reason is that we want to find happiness in our daily lives, and but in reality we experience just the opposite of it. And not only to experience the opposite of it, we cannot stop it. And we cannot just say that I want to be happy and then feel happy, and so we actually have a sense that our lives are not ours. Our lives are somehow determined by a greater force. And if that's your feeling, the greater force here is not some unforeseen interference or like an element or the power from another dimension, or like some Hindu beliefs, our lives are the games of gods. And the greater force here is actually the karmas. We are under the control of our own karmas, and so that's why, our life, the feeling that our life is not ours, we're not in control, we're not calling the shots, it's correct, because the karmas are. But on the other hand, who created those karmas? We create. Our minds created those karmas. So from that perspective, we have absolute control, over our the way of our lives. We just don't know what are the causes that lead to the happiness, and what are the causes we should avoid because they lead to sufferings. So in order to educate us and fill in that void, blank space of our knowledge and wisdom, Buddha Shakyamuni came to this world 2500 years ago and gave the teaching. So the Buddhism is largely, 100% based, based on and following the natural law of cause and effect. It is a systematic educational system to allow us to be acquainted with the natural law of cause and effect. And because the concept is so strange to us, and we cannot learn this on our own. If we can, we would have done it given how long we have been in this type of existence. So we need a qualified teacher. We need to learn the authentic knowledge. We need to practice, and that only through the practice we can evaluate the truth, the truth of the law of cause and effect, to evaluate the qualities of the Buddha's words, and develop faith in Buddha's teachings. This is also due to the fact that the law of cause and effect is very subtle and extensive. The gross part we can understand and comprehend and relate to, but for the majority part of the law of cause and effect, we cannot comprehend for the moment. But yet, if we violate, those laws, so we suffer the consequences. So, we need to, in our mental practice, it's important to develop confidence in Buddha's words by understanding, his words are based on the natural laws, and so we can follow his guidance and to keep ourselves under his protections until we ourselves can see the law of cause and effect directly, and can fend for ourselves in a common term. And so the lamrim is given based on the fact, based on the facts that, for one, we have limited mental capacities to understand the Buddha's teachings. Because Buddha gave extensive teachings. There's 84,000 Buddha's teachings. Every one of them is aimed for one particular negative mind that give us problems. And also it taking into consideration that our time is limited. As humans, we are not living 100, 200 years, and the time to practice is even less. And so our gurus in the past lives, especially Atisha, in 900 AD, has placed Buddha's teachings in order, such the term lamrim. And so it's easier for his students at the time to practice and generate realizations and reach great results, and then later followed by great Lama Tsongkhapa. He explained the original version of Lamrim, written by Atisha, and then his students as well benefited great deals, and many of them reached the enlightenment in one lifetime. And so as time pass on, when come to 20th century, Pabanka Rinpoche in 1921 explained Jie Tsongkhapa's Lamrim, especially the great treatise of the stages on the path to enlightenment, in the format of 24 days retreat. So this is the lineage of our text, our mental training called Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. And then from a different aspect, if you recall, what are the actual mental the key mental hallmarks that we need to develop, so that we know we are on our way to enlightenment, we are on our way to maximum happiness. And Buddha gave all these 84,000 teachings. If we have to summarize it, what Buddha really wants us to develop mentally, and this is pointed out by Lama Tsongkhapa, and also in Lamrim, the purpose is very clear. The first we need to develop is the renunciation, and as we just meditated in the beginning of our study session, so we need to recognize the downside of the lower rebirth in the three lower realms, and by recognizing the sufferings in those places, we do not experience those sufferings for our future lives. This is the mind of renunciation toward the three lower rebirths. And then we recognize the sufferings of of human and semi-gods and gods. So we generate the renunciations even toward to those type of existence, and this is called renunciation toward the samsara. It is a powerful positive mind, and on the basis of this positive mind of renunciation, we can develop the mind of bodhicitta. It's because the logic is that if we cannot generate the renunciation toward the samsara in general, if in our minds we still have some kind of tenderness or some kind of delusions toward, for example, the life as a human, we say, being born as a human is not that bad, even though there's lots of sufferings, but like right now my life is pretty okay. I'm happy and I am lucky and I'm in a good position. And so if we have a false image of the samsara, thinking there's still some kind of worthwhile some kind of value that's worthwhile appreciating, then it's hard for us to generate sincere sympathies toward others' sufferings. We'll just come up with some excuse. Oh, this is temporary. It's gonna be over. Oh, it's not bad. Their suffering is not bad, and so then it's hard for us to, without that sincere compassion toward the others, so we cannot generate the mind of bodhicitta, which is the second key mental hallmark we need to achieve, which is to, in order to help all sentient beings to leave the samsara, we need to train to develop our mind and to reach the final goal of the Buddhahood. So this is it's very psychological, and it's also very scientific. If you think something has value, and then you don't see the point of getting rid of it. And if you don't see the point of getting rid of it for yourself, then there's hard to think there's a point for others to get rid of it. And so then it's hard for us to work for the benefit of others, which the purpose is to get rid of it. So that's why we have to work sincerely to generate the mind of renunciation. And in order to generate the sincere renunciation, we have to truly understand the downfalls of the samsara, and especially the so-called happiness, what we know to us. For example, the comfort provided by air conditioning in the hot weather. And we say, oh, now I feel relieved and I am happy. Or when on a hot summer day we have ice cream and we say, oh, now I'm happy. So all those states actually in nature, they're not happiness. They're just temporary, how to say, like anesthesia, to numb our nerves toward the hostile conditions. And so this is a mental trick that our minds play on us, and but in order for us to tolerate life and tolerate the conditions around us, so the reason we developed that type of sort of self-defense skills is because we don't know other ways, what other ways would can be, or a better ways. So the Buddhism actually offered us a better way, the way that based on truth, based on realities. And it will take our minds a while to grasp the truth, the realities, and then understand the wisdom, the advantage, knowing the knowledge that Buddha provided, and follow the practice. And so in essence, what Buddhism is saying is that we don't have to trick our own minds into thinking these conditions are tolerable, and we can say these conditions are not tolerable, but we can based on the cause and the conditions, we will plant the right causes, and then change the results. So instead of diluting ourselves further, and so we trapped further down into our own minds, the puzzles created by our own minds. The Buddhism actually shine the lights on the puzzle and say we don't have to be stuck this way. There's just a way out, and lead to the true peace, the true freedom and the liberties. So that's the benefit of generating, the renunciations. And so there's with that said, there is a fine line between, renouncing the samsara and actually enjoying our life. So this is the confusing part coming in. Lots of people think Buddhisms are trying to, by following Buddhist practice, so we deprive ourselves the luxuries of life, which we work so hard to gain. So using the example like air conditioning, in a hot weather, which all my friends have, first-hand experience, because we all, most of us live in a hot climate, in tropical environment. The weather is very hot in Malaysia and Singapore, and in the southern part of Florida. So, and many of you who have followed Geshe a while know that Geshe sometimes would ask us to turn off the air conditioning, and so everybody's sweating and hot, and the reason is not that Geshe wants us to suffer physically, or the Buddhism practice is not about physical suffering, but actually to watch what your mind is thinking when the condition changes. So by switching back on the air conditioning, so what your mind is thinking, what your body is feeling, and then you can observe if if our minds are aware that the physical comfortness cannot be the answer of mental happiness. This is the one of the realizations that Buddhism actually trying to hope, or are trying to help us to recognize the physical comfort we can enjoy. But if we start developing attachment, attachment will come when we think that this is the answer to our happiness, and or to think that the physical comfort is the answer of mental happiness. And so then, of course, the more happier we want, the more physical comfort we want. And that's the air conditioning, that's the softness of the beds. We have all sort of beds made from all sort of materials with all different functions. Made out of air, made out of water, made out of coconut, shells, made out of forms, memory forms, so so on and so forth. And yet, there's people who can't sleep at night, and then they take pills. There's again think that, by sleeping, somehow the mind will be happy. So, with all this, different traps, we call the traps, one after another, in the material world, we battle it all day long. And so we are overwhelmed, we are outnumbered, and our times are running short because we do have duties toward our families, toward our work, and as a member of the society. And while we're watching our minds, because we have to make sure our minds are in a positive space. So what are the effective ways to fend off all this external distractions and internal bad habits? So that's again point back to the mental training of the lamrim. So the power of the lamrim is to help us to battle all the 84,000 negativities within our minds and all the external distractions at once. We don't have to fight them one by one. So by meditating on the topics in the lamrims, we naturally will reduce our attachments toward this life's comfort. And because we meditate on death, the impermanence of this body, so this, as much as we treasure this body, eventually it will give up on us. It's like unfaithful servant. Eventually it's gonna run off on us, and so what's your attitude toward a unfaithful, unreliable servant like this? You have different attitude, and so that's just an example. And coming back to the mind of bodhicitta. Once we have the mind of bodhicitta, which is the second major hallmark that Buddha wants us to develop. After that, we need to develop what's called the correct view, which is the correct view that is free from substantialism and free from nihilism. And so the substantialism is the view that we held the things exist on their own, and that's the general attitude we carry out in our daily activities. So we think the things are worth pursuing, and to keep for ourselves, to keep them more, and the things that are not worth pursuing or unpleasant, we develop anxieties and unpleasantness toward those things. And so the nihilism is what thinks that things actually don't exist. Is our mental creations. Our nose don't really exist. What we see are not real. And so then the danger of nihilism is that we end up thinking that there's no Buddhahood, there's no next life, there's no law of cause and effects. We can do whatever we want. There's no consequences of bad behaviors, and so then we fall into the nihilism. So we need to work hard to find the middle way, the Madhyamika way, which means the things are free of self-existence, which means free of substantialism, but it truly exists in the way of interdependence. So this is the program of the Lamrim that prepared for us, so we can battle our own activities internally and the obstacles externally within our limited time, and achieve the maximum results, which is the happiness for this life and the future lives, and the maximum happiness. So with that said, now let's go back to Lamrim. We have started to evaluate the mental training or the quality of the Lamrim, so that we are mentally convinced that this is worthwhile pursuing. And because the Buddhism is a life wisdom, it's not a theoretical concepts, and it's actually a very practical life advice. It's like a survival manual. And so in order to evaluate such a practical wisdom, we need to, the way to evaluate it is to evaluate the results of such a practice. So with that said, we are actually in the part that getting to know Atisha, the author of the Lamrim, based on Buddha's teachings. By knowing who he is, who he was, what he accomplished as a practitioner for himself, and what he had done as a guru for others. And then we see we see his accomplishment. We see him as as a what qualities he had achieved as a result of the practice. So then we understand that this mental training is really worthwhile pursuing. It is something that we should pursue, who are looking for the same happiness, who are looking for the same results, for our minds. So with this, let's continue to read. Last time we have stopped at page 20. We have stopped at the page. Let me see. At page 30. At page 30, just in the middle, just after the second paragraph. So, as many of you have known the Atisha's biography by heart, he was born in 900 and into a very wealthy, powerful royal family in southern India. And he was born with such a rare qualities. When he was 18 months old, he wanted to take refuge in the three jewels. He recognized the value of his human life, and he wanted to continue Buddhist practice as an ordained person. And so even when as he growing older, he became very well learned, and became a scholar who was learned in 10 aspects of knowledge. And then when he was 11, his parents trying to find him a good suitors, but he had developed renunciations toward a palace life. So that's where we stopped. And so let's put our hands together. We shall continue to read a few pages and come back and to pay our respect to his trainings and his life. Then without delay, the prince went out, disguised as a soldier with 130 armed cavalrymen. The prince skillfully pretended to explore the Rocky Mountains in the nearby countryside. His real purpose was to look for a guru. He met the Brahmin Jitari, who lived on one of these mountains. Jitari gave the prince the refuge and bodhisattva vows, and told him of Bodhihatra of Nalanda, with whom Atisha had karmic links from the beginningless past, and told him to go there. The prince saw this guru and made him a precious offering. This pleased Bodhibhadra. The guru entered meditative absorption and blessed the prince 3 doors: body, speech, and mind. He also gave the prince many instructions concerning the development of bodhicitta, and then sent Atisha to Guru Vidyakokila, who also gave him instructions on developing bodhicitta. Vidyakokila sent Atisha to another guru from Atisha's past, Abadutipa, Vidyakokila the younger. He met Abadutipa, who told him, "Go back to your father's kingdom today. Look into the drawbacks of a layman's way of life." And so he returned home, much to the delights of his parents. "Where have you been, Chandragapa?" they asked. "Are you weary? Are you sad? How good it is you've returned." He replied, "I have been in search of a guru, the sage's place of refuge. I have been to mountains, caves, and empty places in my search. No matter where I went, I saw the drawbacks of samsara. Whoever I befriended told me of the drawbacks of samsara. No matter what I do, dissatisfied am I, set me free, and I shall turn to the Dharma." His parents told him that if samsara made him so unhappy, he should take up his royal duties. Then he should make offerings to the 3 jewels, make donations to the poor, build temples, invite the sanghas, and so on. Then he would be completely happy. "I have seen much of the samsara," he replied. "I'm not even minutely attached to the trapping of royal life. A golden palace is no different from a prison. Queens are no different from the daughters of Mara, evil forces. The 3 sweet substances are no different from dog meat, pus, and blood. There is not the slightest difference between the duty of wearing silks and jewels and donning a filthy blanket in a cemetery. I shall go into the forest to meditate. Today give me a little meat, milk, honey, and sugar cane. I will go to Venerable Avadutipa. This was the gift of the son to his parents. His mother and father gave him permission to do as he wished, and he set out for the forest with 1,000 horsemen. He became a follower of Avadutipa, who initiated him into the development of bodhicitta. Go to the temple of Krishnagiri, the Black Mountain, said Avadutipa, where Sri Rahalagupta lives. He too was once your guru. Guru Rahula happened to be giving a tantric teaching when he saw the prince coming, and although he knew that Atisha had come in quest of Darma, he hurled a bolt of lightning at the prince to test him. Then Rahula went to the top of the mountain where there was a black Tathika stupa. His retinue of yogis asked the guru who this person was. Rahula replied, for 552 rebirths, he has been nothing but scholarly pandits. At present, he is heir to the Bangla Dharma king, Kalyanashi. He is unattached to the royal life and wishes to take up ascetic practices. Everyone was astonished. They stood up and welcomed him. As soon as he saw the Guru, Atisha said, Holy Guru, hear me. I have left my home and wishes to achieve liberation, but have been born to a famous family, and I am in danger of being bound to Bengal. I have devoted myself to Jitari, Bodhibhadra, Vidyavokila, and Avadutipa, gurus with psychic powers, yet even now I am not free of my royal obligations. I have now been sent to you, O Guru. Initiate me into the Mahayana and development of bodhicitta. May I be free of these bonds. The Guru responded by happily giving the initiation of Havara and all the instructions to the prince alone for 13 days. He was given the secret name Jnana Guhya Avaja. Rahula then addressed 8 terrifying and naked yogi and yoginis, following him back to Bengal, changed the mind of the king, his father. When he is released from royal duties, take him back to his guru Avadutipa. The prince now addressed himself as Haruka, and when he approached the palace grounds, everyone who saw him recognized him and became afraid. He wandered aimlessly for 3 months, behaving like a madman. The yogis and yoginis ran and jumped about. Everyone saw that he was set on abandoning his kingdom, and they could not hold back their tears. His father was the most affected and said, Alas, my son, at your most excellent birth I saw wondrous signs, and thought you would pursue your royal duty. My faculties revived with this happy thought, and what then has your forced retreat done to your mind? The prince replied, What say you? If I pursued duties royal, I could, father, be with you for this momentary life. But father would not know the son in all rebirths to come. How very wrong when no benefits to be had. If I forego the great demands of royal life and practice the sure path to liberation and enlightenment, we shall be together happily in all our future lives. Therefore, grant me this opportunity. His mother said, What's the use when this child is so determined? Karma is the foremost thing that throws us to all our births. O Holy One, practice the Dharma you think best. Make prayers that we will be together always in my future lives. And she gave him permission. The prince, yogis, and yoginis left at first light for the forest hermitage of Guru Avadutipa, where he studied the Dharma of the Madhyamika school. Atisha was taught the subtlest of the law of cause and effect, and from the age of 21 to 29 emulated Avadutipa. In short, he contemplated and meditated on everything he studied. The Blue Book of Spells says he followed Avadutipa for 7 years. Atisha could have been a king whose splendor would have equaled to the Chinese Emperor Li Shiming. 100,000 households were tenants of King's Palace, with its victory banners, 25,000 bathing pools, 720 pleasure groves, and 56,000 palm trees. He could have had 3,500,000 subjects. The palace was surrounded by 7 walls interconnected by 368 bridges. It had 25,000 golden victory banners, and the center palace had 13 pagodas. But great Atisha gave himself up to the Dharma and rid himself of these unmatched trappings of princely power as one spits in the dust. Our teacher, the Buddha, did the same. Although he had the power of a universal emperor in the palm of his hand, he forsook it to become ordained. Thus you must avidly read their biographies. If someone were now to say, "Give up your vows, and you will be appointed governor of a district," we would do it without hesitation. That just shows the extent of our resolve. It is hard for us even to give up the things in our poky little rooms, let alone the power of a prince. Contrast this with the great Atisha, who gave up his royal possessions, treating it like a spit left in the dust, and who for 7 years depended mainly on Abhadipa. He also studied the Vajrayana under many other gurus, who too were endowed with psychic power. He became a scholar in all the classics and in every instruction. Once the thought came to him, "I am well versed in the secret tantras," but he lost his pride when some dakinis showed him in a dream many volumes on tantra he had never seen before. When he thought, "I shall gain the supreme psychic powers of the Mahamudra, the Great Seal, in this life by engaging in tantric behaviors, that is, taking on a consort," Guru Rahula Gupta came to him by miraculously passing through a wall. "What?" said the Guru. "Where are you going? Forgetting sentient beings? Get ordained. It will benefit the teachings and many sentient beings." Then Sri Haruka appeared in space before Atisha and made a similar appeal. Our teacher Shakyamuni and the master of sages, the Lord Maitreya, also in Atisha's dreams, asked him to get ordained. He took his full ordination from Srila Rasha, the abbot of the Mahasangika subsect, who had achieved the patient stage of the path of preparation. Atisha was ordained at the age of 29. Atisha depended on 157 gurus. He studied all the signs, sutras, and tantras, along with their oral instructions. He made a particular study of all the key points of the 4 divisions of the transmission of the Vinaya under Guru Dhammakachita, as well as a huge text that covers in some 800 cantons the 7 divisions of the Abhidharma, called the Great Discussion of the Particulars. He listened to this teaching for 12 years and studied it thoroughly. Because he knew all the subtle and unconfused differences of the practices of the 18 sub-schools of the Vibhashika sect on such topics as taking alms or what water is fit to drink, he became the crown jewel of all 18 of these Indian sub-schools. So let's stop here for a second and let's go revisit the Atisha's life journey. So once he has followed his calling, and especially renounced the possible marriage with suitable concubines, because he doesn't want to be trapped in a lay person life. His parents gave him the permission to go into the woods, and at that time his parents didn't know that he was thinking about getting ordained. He was going with his horsemen, with under the disguise of retreat, going to the countryside, looking at the pretty mountains and so on and so forth. But in secret, he was looking for a guru to help him in this spiritual development. So first, the first guru he came across, described in the last paragraph on page 30, is a Brahman Jitari. So Brahman is also a specific word. It's a spiritual practitioner who follow the path that lead out of the samsaric way of lives. So it's different from the common words we use or we hear in the Indian custom, like a Brahman. This is slightly different. And then he met his second guru, Bodhibhadra, and who also had karmic connections with him from the past. So then he he met with his another guru, Vidya Volkila, and also the Avadutipa. And so what he's really looking for is to be released from his royal duties as a prince, so he can devote his time to pursue the practice. And this was delivered by his guru. His name was what's his name? I think this come back in 2 pages later. We'll mention his name. So let's stay with the information from the page 31 before we jump forward. And so after he met with the gurus, Avadutipa, his guru sent him back to his parents, and so ask him to observe the downside of the samsara, the way of the layman's lives. And so when his parents saw him, they were very happy, because they were suspicious, that he has gone to the woods for the purpose, other than just sightseeing and taking a leisure retreat. So once they see him return, they're happy, thinking that he's coming back to his royal duties. But as a matter of fact, just opposite, he actually telling his parents, he's tired of the this way of life. Whoever he talks to, it remind him the sufferings of the samsara. So he wanted to pursue the Dharma full time. And this is a very interesting, the development. And for us, we love to social because we are social animals, and for one reason or another. And when we meet new people or when the old friends get together, we like to greet each other. Everybody's all excited, life, with that excitement, we mistake it as a happiness, and then as a positive energies. And so we rarely think it's a mental distraction that we're experiencing. But then when we get together, we start exchanging our life stories. Where have you been? What you have done? What vacation you have gone on to, and what experiences you worthwhile sharing, good or bad. So so it's rarely come to us that after 5 or 10 minutes of conversations, generally we all lead to some sort of problems, one or the other, in our lives. And some are more direct, without any sugar coatings, and others are more skilled to try to turn it into a more positive ways and say, now it's in the past, I have gone through it, and it make me grow stronger and wiser, and I have survived it, this and that. But with the events itself, we rarely think. We just think it's part of life. We take it as normal. But as a wise man or a trained mind sees it, those just spells the drawbacks of the samsara. We don't have to live this way. Why should we experience negativities? And why can't we be happy permanently? Why do we have to, why do we have to die? Why do we have to grow old? Why do we have to get sick? And so, and all this are the, how to say, the drawbacks, the sufferings in samsara. And so, that's what Atisha was talking about. So his parents then said, if all these things experience make you unhappy, you want to be more positive, and also help others to be positive, then you should, take up your royal duties. You can, you want to be close to the Dharma, you can, worship 3 jewels, you can build temples, you can, help the poor, you are the prince. The whole resources of the kingdom is at your disposal. You can make extensive offerings, you can, build temples as many as you like, and invite sanghas, so on and so forth. There's no problem. And so the reply of the Atisha to his parents is so it's how to say, it's very very deep. Normally we would think it that way because our wisdom have not reached that level of realizations. So in his eyes, taking up royal duties like a prince or a king is a trap. So this trap is, is a trap of the samsara, because as a royal, with the royal duties, you can't avoid attachment and anger. You cannot avoid the negative karmas, and with negative karmas, you are trapped. This is not the wall of the palace; is the trap of the cyclic existence. in this life, maybe you are in high power with the demands, even for a good deed, helping the poor, building the temples, and you can, you can't avoid the creating the negative karmas, because you can't avoid politics. And so thus, this palace is a prison, and it's the prison not physically for the body, but it's a prison for the mental happiness. And so the queens are no different from the daughters of Maras. So the Maras is not some evil spirits, ghosts that haunt us, like we see in the Hollywood movies. At midnight, some angry ghost coming to take our lives, by getting into our bodies and make us all doing strange things, flying in the ceilings, scaring hell of people and suck their energy out. And not Maras is actually our negative minds. This is the evil force within us. So if we, as a prince or the king, you have to take on the concubine, take on queens. So eventually, there's attachment involved, and it's not good for you, and it's not good for the for the ladies who are involved, with the jealousies and attachment and hatred. All those come non-stop. And so that's why it's a metaphor. Now those queens actually, those girls, ladies, are actually the evil spirits, taking up a human form. And so then the three sweet substance are no different from dog meat, pus, and blood. So this is also, we love. There's many levels of significance. For one, if we love our food, and with the food, our attitude is attachment. And so with that attachment, the practicing of attachment, there's negative karma associated. And we, unfortunately for us, we apply that attitude toward food many times a day, and not only food, the drinks too. So so every time I have that, it's a negative karma generated and left on our minds, and those are lead to the rebirth of the lower life forms, such as animals. So that's why I said, there's no different, and if our attachment is really great, and there's no satisfactions toward the food, and the good food that we like, that mentality will lead us to rebirth into a hungry ghost realms. So once we're under the karmas of a hungry ghost, guess what this sweets appears to our eyes, it will be appeared like pus and blood. And remember the example that Geshe gave us, a cup of water, and because of the karma of a human, we see this cup of water as a cup of water. And because of the karma of the gods and the merits the gods have, they see the same cup of water as nectar. And because of the karmas of the hungry ghost and their negative minds, they see this cup of water as blood and pus. That's why they can never find the food, because they don't see it. And so, this is due to their karmas. So here's also, just talked about along those lines. The karmas we created, the sweets will appear to us as, now it's sweet, but later will be like, the food that animals eat, which means we're already reborn in the animal realms. And then as pus and blood, it's even worse, we're reborn in hungry ghost realms. So you think about how much sufferings as animals and as hungry ghosts, and the cause is at this moment you have attachment toward this toward this food for 5 minutes and 10 minutes, then you suffer downstream for 100, 200, 1 million years. It's really not worth it. And so then the next one, the Atisha, great Atisha, is talking about, there's not the slightest difference between the beauty of wearing silks and jewels and donning a filthy blanket in a cemetery. So donning a filthy blanket in a cemetery refers to our dead bodies, our corpse. So when this life ends, our body, now we call the body, right? But as soon as the life ends, we call this the same thing, corpse, and we can't bear to look at it. And everybody gets scared, when we're alive, everybody drawn to us and say, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so kind, and this dress looks so good on you, or this jewelry looks so good on you. And a moment later, if we stop breathing, and then immediately it's we can die in the same clothes, and everybody will be so scared and start screaming, get this thing out of here, it's so smelly, this and that. And then all the stuff is stripped away from us. They wrap us in a piece of cloth and bury us into in a coffin and in a cemetery, and where they keep all the dead bodies. So that's the attitude, it's so what attitude toward made these differences. That mentality is really not it's really makes no sense to us. And so this is another way that Atisha laid out the samsaric drawbacks to us, and such a how to say such a precise way, and very wisely, because normally we don't think that way. That's why we get trapped. If we can think the way he does, and then our attachment toward these things will be greatly reduced, because he sees long term. He sees the reality in a long term scale. We are less, our visions are less obscured. We know this even though we don't see next life, but from conventional life lifestyles we know it too. If we think about, if we want to think about what's like 20 years down the road for us, then you have, the life become more, less stressful, or less, less imbalanced. It's only when we look at what just right in front of us, when the things start getting obscured and become, we bend the reality out of proportions. So, if we look the long terms, this life versus next life, this life we're already human. How much worse can we be? And we don't need to take that food with such a attitude of attachment. If next life we don't want to be as a hungry ghost, we don't have to be attracted to take, I must find a girlfriend, I must find a boyfriend, I must have a family, I must, it's good to have, but the attitude that I must, and put on so much stress on ourselves and the parents on the children, or or on each other, those are the attitudes driven by the attachment toward samsara. So with that attitude, even we have it, we don't get to enjoy it. It takes all the beauty of being alive away from us. So that's what Buddhism help us try to distinguish what right attitude to have toward life, because we are humans, and we are living beings. And then what attitude we should get rid of, because those attitudes stop us from experiencing life as a happy, peaceful, and productive. So with that said, we can continue a little more. And so he was able to convince his parents with these logics, and they led him into the woods to find his gurus. And so he went back to Avadutipa, and then his guru sent him to the Black Mountains to find his other guru, Sri Rahula Gupta. So this guru was in the middle of the Tantra teaching. So when he saw Atisha approaching, and he released a bolt of lightnings to him, and it ended up on the stupa of a black Tathika. Tathika just means different non-Buddhist practitioners. So then the students, because the guru wants to show his students that Atisha is a very special, very scholarly pandit, and to show his qualities. And so then of course the students asked who Atisha was. So the guru says for 552 rebirth, he is a scholarly pandit. So the pandit is also a Sanskrit word. It means a learned, who well learned, and who have developed correct wisdoms and realizations, and so it's a specific word. Then the guru continued that Atisha was a king, the heir to the king's throne, but he's not interested. He wanted to practice Buddhism. So of course when Atisha came to see, in the side to the guru, he asked the guru to help him to generate a mind of bodhicitta, to help him to be released from his royal duties. And so the guru sent the yogis and the yoginis. These yogis and yoginis are the tantric practitioners. So because now Atisha already received the tantric initiation from the guru Rahula, he can also practice tantra. So he dressed up as Haruja. So if some of you have seen Haruja has particular outlooks, and those to unfamiliar eyes can be quite frightening. And so for 3 months, these 8 yogis and yoginis, along with the prince, they all behave. They practice tantra, and the tantra practice is to unfamiliar eyes can be confusing. And when the people enters confusing situations, they feel uncomfortable, and they either afraid, or they wanted to avoid the sights. So by this way, the prince slowly let his father knew that he's not interested in royal duties, and he would like to do something else. And so eventually it comes to the time the father and the son had this conversation, as described at the bottom of page 33 and the page 34. And this is a very touching conversation between a loving son and a loving father. So the father said, and because the son was born with such a blessed signs, and the father was very happy because he thought that his son's gonna be a good king in the future and continue to lead the kingdom and the people in the kingdom to a good life. And so he was very happy, and his life was supported by this thought. And then the king, the son, replied in such ways. He said, if I take these royal duties as your son, as the king to this kingdom, we can only know each other as a father and a son in this life. And this life is very short compared to all the future lives to come. So for all the futures lives to come, we will not know each other anymore. And if you consider what benefit in this, then it doesn't make sense. And so if you let me to give up the royal life and to become a monk, to pursue the liberations and the enlightenment, and then for all the future lives that we have, I will know you as my father. I will have the good merits, so to be with you at all times. So that's his answers, to let go the short gains of this life for the benefits of all future lives. This is what Buddhism delivers: to let go the short gains, but to gain the maximums for the future lives. And the mother heard the conversation between the two, and said the followings. Said, so this child, have such a determinations. It's because. Probably because of his karma, in the past lives, he has accumulated all these karmas, and all of us, none of us is free from the karmas. I'm not free my own karma. You're not free from yours, and so the karmas actually determines what type of life we live. For the moment, so let him practice the Dharma, and also in the futures, we have the karmas to be together. So it's the way that she gave the permission. And so in Buddhism, in order to pursue as an ordained person, you need permissions from your parents, and because Buddhism is about not harming others. And if your parents feel hurt that if you become a ordained, then it's not right. So we have to get the permissions from the parents, and they understand what you're really doing. It's a benefit for everybody, and it's for their happiness as well. And you get their blessings, and then it's. Then go pursue the Buddhism practice as ascetics or as ordained. It's a appropriate way. It's the correct way. And so Buddha. So the Atisha left with his followers and went to pursue his mental liberations. And what left behind, is a powerful, wealthy kingdom. With all this wealth, it's beyond our, current monetary values. I don't know how many zeros we have to put in with this. How much the kingdom with this much wealth worth. And we give up our own practice when we hear there's another job, possibly pays, 10 times more, or possibly pays 20 times more, or give us 1 million income, $1 million incomes this year, and we would we would give up our practice to do that, but Atisha and give up all this wealth and powers to pursue the practice full times, and also the powers. If it's not money, the modern society is so we are conventional, ordinary beings. We're lured by three things. Money, power, and fame. It's one of these three will trap us, one way or the other, and they are interconnected. With the money you can buy the power. We all know that, and with the power comes with money, and we all know that, and with also the fame it comes with the power and the money, and we all know that. And just in our heads we can list all the examples, how the presidents in the United States rise to power, and then how that power lead to the wealth, and how the Hollywood Hollywood movie actors and actresses create personas with them as social elite, and then as powerful figures, and some even gain the presidentship. To tell anyone, at the moment, say, give up your practice, and then you can become a local officer, or you can gain some fame, or you can gain some money. We would give it up, and even not totally, we would trick ourselves and say, temporarily, I need this to benefit me down the road, to practice more, to practice better, to practice without distractions. Our mind would tell us tricks, but the result is that we would stop our practice and pursue something else. And so this is just the opposite what Atisha did. And even if we don't have that, we say, okay, fame, money, and power, I know it, I see it too well, I'm not interested, and I'm content with my little room, my little space, my own little house, my own little car, my own whatever little possessions we have, but doesn't mean that we are free from attachment. If somebody, we have a little room, we wanted to have more lights, we hope that a little room has more air flows, and if we have a choice to pick up which little room we want to have, we definitely try to pick up whatever we think will suit our needs the best. So that's just self-interest talking, and the attachment is talking, and so it's the mental. So this is another way to show that the external things are on their own just the external things. They're not ask you to be attached. It's our mind. Our mind have the seed of attachment. So it will when the pleasant conditions present itself, will attach to it, or will try to find the pleasant conditions that suitable toward our attachments. But the Atisha is just opposite. He gave all this up. They said it's a very interesting description. The way he gave it up. So this is on page 35, second paragraph. It said he gave it up, treating it like a spittle left in the dust. So this is how we should do it. Think about it. if we spit, nobody has attachment, not even bit toward their own spit once it's come out our mouth. We never give another thought. We never felt, I spit too much, or, it went to a wrong direction, or it, never thought. It just came out and that's it. Never thought about it again. So this is the attitude, that's of attachment, lack of attachment. So we should follow the same. Whatever, if it's attachment talking, we should toss it out, just like spitting. Spit left in the dust, and that's the determinations we should have. And then, with that said, the rest, it talks about Atisha's studies. He has actually achieved the perfection of the studies. He has studied extensively all the science, sutras and tantras, and all the difficult, extensive subjects, like especially in Abhidharma. Abhidharma metaphysics covers great topics. It describes how our world exists, the phenomena exist. If anybody is interested, there's a book come out recently, talks of, it's very small part of Abhidharma. It talks about philosophies and the phenomena based on ancient Indian philosophies. Actually, it's based on Abhidharma. It's a phenomenal, and it's only volume 1. So this just shows that Atisha is very well learned, and with all these topics, he not only learned, he understand, and he know it by heart, and there's no mental errors in them, and this include not only the Abhidharmas, also the Vinayas. Vinaya is ethics. So we, all different schools of the Buddhisms at that time, they follow the ethics, and some are different. There's variations among each schools because of their philosophies. So he knows them all the subtle differences, and because of that, he became the leader of all this Indian sub schools. And that shows, he is well learned, and but most importantly, we have started the concept of bodhicitta. As much as well learned as he is, his gurus and has pointed him to pursue the mental training of the bodhicitta. So with that said, we'll leave that to our next week's discussion, and we may have time for 1 or 2 questions. Anybody has questions, love to share or discuss, we can. And if not, we can, the WhatsApp, our group WhatsApp is always open, and my emails as well. So it's very important for us to remember, with the Buddhism, the Buddhist practice is now to curve, to take away our right to enjoy the luxuries of the life. To turn off the air conditionings, get rid of the cars, and to eat, to eat like the simple food, and and to mentally make us sufferings, because we have to meditate on the unpleasantness of life. This is not the purpose of the Buddhism. So the purpose of the Buddhism is to help us to recognize the confusions our minds have, And the confusions are that we confuse attachment with love, or and the temporary happiness and the sufferings, and there's lots of mental confusions, and so but because it's difficult for us to get to the mind directly, and so to get to the bodies is one way would draw attention to the mind, because our minds generally are in distractive states, unfocused, easily excited, cannot focus, cannot stay still on the subject. So, but by shocking the bodies, because of the close relation between mind and the body, the mind would pay attention, and that's when the wisdom has a moment to speak to the mind and say, look, think this moment, analyze the conditions, and use the logics, and do not wander away, do not fly away, and stay in this moment and analyze, and see what is the best way to actually help yourself, help the mind and help the body. And if our mind left unchecked, it actually doesn't serve body well at all. The body didn't get fat because the body wants to overeat itself. It is the mind that forces the body to feed itself. And that's just one example. So with that said, let's go to our dedications. The wisdom is coming a long line of masters to us, passed through 2,500 years, to preserve the message, to preserve the essence of Buddha's teachings. Our masters in the past have worked very hard to practice themselves, so that not only they can achieve happiness, but most important, that they can help us 2,500 years later have a chance to study authentic teachings, to have authentic, perfect gurus, and to practice and to found our true happiness. So we'll thank their intentions, their benefits, and their good wish, and their hard works to preserve the teachings, and especially our Buddha Guru. And we offer a short mandala on page 47. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, 4 continents, and the sun and moon, I imagine as a Buddha land and offer to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. May my venerable Lama's life be form, his wide divine action spread in the 10 directions. May the torch of the teachings of Losang always remain, dispelling the darkness of all beings in the 3 realms. Idang Guru Rana Manjalaga Niyadaya Mei. In our lives, may we never be separated from genuine gurus. May we enjoy the splendor of the Dharma. And by perfecting the qualities of the path and the stages, may we swiftly attain the level of Vajradhara. With the blessings of the victorious Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the dependent origination, the truth without lies and distortions, along with my pure altruistic motivations, please fulfill all wishes toward enlightenment. Due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha, and lead all transmigrator beings without exception to that state. May the precious Supreme Bodhicittas not yet born arise. May that horizon not decline but increase forever. May the precious view of emptiness not yet born arise. May that horizon not decline but increase forever. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri, who knows realities, and just like Samattabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtues with the dedication praised as the best by all the gone beyond the victorious ones of the three times in order to have good conducts of samatha. Those most precious merits we dedicate to all beings in samsara, to eliminate all their negative karmas and obstacles and achieve the peerless Buddhahood. By the force of the victorious one, Tsongkhapa, acting as our direct Mahayana virtuous friend in our lives, may we never turn away for even a second from the pure path highly admired by the victorious ones. Venerable Lama Tsongkhapa, residing in Tushita or Pure Land, wherever you live, we wish to be your closest entourage. First, listen to the Darma teaching extensively, followed by taking all the scriptures as instructions. Then practice day and night and dedicate to the flourish of Buddha Dharma in the future. So we take this moment to dedicate this beautiful merits we have created together to the cause, any particular cause you have for the moment, and for ourselves and the families and friends, have a good health, long life, stable financial conditions, and for this world free of natural disasters, especially the ones that are going on in China with the flood. Many lives are lost and damaged, and then the outbreaks of COVID, many lives are lost, and families are falling apart, and also the wars, and also the other disasters, famines in Africas, and for all these things to cease and never happen again, and for all the sentient beings to find happiness and liberations and enlightenment, especially for ourselves to have continuous practice without obstructions, obstacles, and to achieve Buddhahood as soon as possible in order to help all sentient beings. So I thank you so much for sharing the time with me, and it's because of your love and dedication for practice, so we have a chance to be together. And many of us are parents and grandparents, and also the young members of the society. So I want to share with you that it's I think this is a personal opinion. I think it's important to pursue happiness, and teach our young ones how to be happy, instead of teaching them a skill to particular professional skills to have, because if they have a skill to be happy, they will be good at whatever they do, whatever profession they pursue. They are a happy people. They are good humans, and it's very important to raise our families so they can be a good human beings. Thank you so much, and have a good weekend and a good practice.